Hey everybody, Alex here and welcome to A Base to the Past number 2, a series in which I talk about stuff that happened to me in the past pertaining to video games, pretty much. So, last time I talked about one of my favorite game series, Metal Gear Solid, and Metal Gear at large actually, and this week, or this video rather, I'm going to be talking about Castlevania. Why I got into Castlevania, my first impressions of Castlevania, what I came to think about Castlevania, and the fact that at the beginning, I freaking hated Castlevania. So, let me explain why. So, my first experience with Castlevania wasn't actually a video game. It wasn't any of the advertisements. It wasn't this god-awful picture here, which I believe was an arcade game. It was actually this guy. Simon Belmont from Captain N, the Game Master. And I have to say, more like Simon Belmont, the Lame Master. That he just annoyed the piss out of me. Little kid, I was like, this guy is stupid. How is this guy supposed to be a great hero who fights evil and wickedness, and all he's doing is styling his hair? He has goggles. For what? He has a backpack. What the hell kind of superhero runs around with a backpack? Jundipers, I think that's what they're called, the pants. And then a coat that's buttoned up with the furry ruffle thing. Who, you Launchpad McQuack? Like, I was like, who is this guy? This game must be awful. Like, this game must be shit. So, I completely wrote him off. I was like, nope, any game that this Simon Belmont dork is in, absolutely not. No dice. Didn't even know. I had no idea he was from Castlevania. So, whatever. Watch the show, have a good time. The show turns me on to Mega Man, so I end up getting Mega Man. Turned me on to Kid Icarus. Ended up buying Kid Icarus. Ended up freaking hating Kid Icarus because it was so damn hard. Ended up getting rid of Kid Icarus. But I never picked up a Castlevania game because I always thought they were called Simon something or another. So, Christmas is coming by years later, and Super Nintendo time. And I'm talking to my uncle, and I'm like, he's like, what do you want for Christmas? And he's like, oh, I get, Super Nintendo games. And he's like, all right, well, like what? Because, all right, let me just tell you, that Christmas, he got me 3 Super Nintendo games. One was SimCity, because he thought I had to learn how to balance a spreadsheet, or a budget, which, for those of you who don't know, when it comes to sim games, like Civilization and whatnot, my OCD kicks in hardcore. I am very proud to say in Civ 5, I had nukes in the 1800s, all right? I am like, whatever. I could be mayor. Let me just leave it at that. Every single SimCity game I've played, and I play it till the point where pretty much I just sell off everything. But, one game lasts me a while. Pilot Wings, and a mystery game. That mystery game happened to be Super Castlevania 4. Now, the reason why he got me this game initially was because he even said, this box art looks absolutely amazing. And I agreed with him. I was like, I've never heard of this. Castlevania, what is this? So I read off to the side, which I'm going to read here because you can't see it because this is like my second take and I know the camera isn't going to do it. Doom is at hand for the Belmont legacy as you enter the most chilling chapter of the most fiendish horror story ever told. Just be sure to tell your next of kin before you begin. Belmont. Belmont. Hansel. Turn it over. A century of Transylvanian tranquility is about to come to a shocking end. Once again, the mortifying screams of helpless villagers shake the ground as they huddle against new nightmarish horrors unleashed by the Duke of Darkness, Count Dracula. And this time, he has a tombstone with your name on it, Simon Belmont. Oh my god, this is the guy? This is really the guy? He looks badass. Like, as a kid, I was like, how? How did this become this? How? What were they thinking? I wanted to go to Deke and punch him in the mouth. I'm like, what did you do? This guy's cool. He's freaking awesome. Booted up the game, and then I was like, wait a minute. On the box, he's blonde and he wears yellow armor. Why does he have black hair and black armor? Oh, who the hell cares? This game is awesome. Absolutely freaking awesome. And, needless to say, I played this game to death until I eventually beat it and lost numerous passwords in the process. So, this was the first Castlevania game I ever played, and then from there I was like, wait a minute, there's 4. This is 4. There must be more. So I went to Blockbuster with my uncle, and And I'm like, anything that has Belmont on it, we have to get. So he's like, okay. So I literally rented the other 3 Castlevania games. Just, you know, like that. And I think maybe some platformer. It wasn't Super Mario World because that came with the Super Nintendo. I can't remember. But anyway, so take those 3 home, pop them in, all excited. And I have to tell you, those games were harder than this one. And Super Castlevania 4 is really hard. But of the classic trilogy, my personal favorite is number 3. I don't know why. Because as a purist, when it comes to Castlevania games, I tend to enjoy using a whip and the cross. You give me those 2 and I can clean house in any Castlevania game, no problem at this point. But, you know, playing the other 3, I was like, this series is absolutely fantastic. Like, why did they ruin the character? I mean, Bayou Billy was even cool in the show, and I hate Bayou Billy on the NES. It's a horrible game, in my opinion, but, you know, that's just me. But over time, like, you know, I was just playing all these Castlevania games, and then I kind of forgot about them. I missed out on Dracula X because I saw it wasn't Simon. Like, I honestly thought Simon Belmont is the coolest protagonist in the series. Honestly, he's my favorite hero. And I didn't get Dracula X because it wasn't him. In all honesty, had nothing to do with it. Now, when we talk about, you know, Alucard being in the NES one, you know, that was a little bit different. I was on this whole, oh my god, Belmont trip. Richter is technically a Belmont, but he wasn't Simon, so I completely passed over it. And I didn't play any other Castlevania games, really. Castlevania 64 I played. That was a mistake. And because I honestly thought it was Simon because he had the furry ruffle thing, and I was like, oh, that must be Simon. Then, you know, I find out it's really not. And then after that, I was like, okay, I guess the series is done, you know, no more Simon. That's it, I guess. And then Symphony of the Night came out. And initially, I was like, ooh, like, this sounds interesting. You know, it was the first of that, you know, genre that shan't be named sort of thing, the Metroid, Castlevania thing, whatever. So I looked at it and I was like, okay, okay, this looks really cool. This looks really cool. Who the hell's Alucard? Like, I honestly didn't even remember. I was like, I want a Belmont. Like, there has to be a Belmont. And my uncle and I, even he got in on it. He's like, how come there's no more Simon Belmont? Like, he agreed with me. Like, this guy is by far one of the most badass looking heroes they've ever had. So, you know, I picked up the game anyway because EGM at the time, you know, they were ranting and raving about Symphony of the Night, just saying, oh my god, it's the best game, game of the year, game of the decade, game of the century, I don't know. Game starts up, and you're Richter. So I was like, okay. You know, I feel like I should know who this is. And then, you know, you fight Dracula, I'm like, oh, wow, okay. I had no idea it was technically a continuation from the Dracula X Rondo of Blood days. So, play the game, and then I'm like, okay, you know, cool. And then everybody started with cheat codes, and, you know, the mystery cheat codes because the internet didn't exist. Apparently there was a cheat code so you could play as Simon, and I spent days, months, I don't even know, with like an abacus, with like literally in the library, just like looking up newspaper clippings, trying to figure out what this code was so you could play as Simon, because I thought Simon was by far one of the coolest characters ever. So, apparently that was false, so I was stuck as playing as this clown Alucard, right? And I have to say, over time, Alucard really grew on me. Really, really grew on me. And as stupid as I was, I didn't even realize Alucard was Dracula backwards. Go figure, right? So, more time passes, whatever. I played Symphony of the Night, I absolutely loved it, but as much as I enjoyed that game, still didn't compare. Still didn't compare. Now we get into the Game Boy Advance days, right? And Circle the Moon comes out on GBA. And when I got my GBA, at the time, EB Games, was it? Yeah, GameStop I still think they still went by EB Games in the States. And they used to do bundles for releases of consoles, particularly with handhelds and stuff. They did one for the Neo Geo Pocket, they did one for the Neo Geo Pocket Color, and they did one for the Game Boy Advance. So basically, we'll say for an extra $80 or some such thing, you got to pick, I think, a game or two, and you got some stupid, like, little, you know, essentials kit, you know, cleaning, a case, all that crap. So I went with Circle the Moon and some other game I can't remember off the top of my head, but it ultimately disappointed me, I know that much. booted up Circle of the Moon, and mind you, for those of you who don't know, the first generation handheld of the Game Boy Advance, the one that goes out like that, no backlight. Absolutely no backlight whatsoever. So playing Circle of the Moon, which is a pretty dark game, really, really painful. Which explains why last year, I went back. I even said in the completion video, I believe, I finally finished this game and I've had it since release day. Because honestly, I just couldn't see it. So, I play a little bit of it and I got completely turned off. I'm like, this is hard. I don't know what's going on. I can't see a damn thing. Whatever. Whew, to the wind. And Castlevania was out of my life again. Like the redhead stepchild. I just tossed him out. I'm like, whoever this douche is, he's worse than Simon Belmont from Captain N. Just gone. Out of sight, out of mind. So now, more Game Boy Advance games come out. But at that point, I was just like, you know what? The series is done. It's dead. Completely dead. I was like, there's nothing else they can do to bring me back to the series. So we're going to fast forward a few years now. The PS2 games I never really touched. And then a certain game. Now this is where it gets funny, guys. A certain game came out on the Wii. A fighting game. Considered to be one of the worst Castlevania games, worst fighting games ever made. Castlevania Judgement. Now, it was Christmas time. And my friend, one of my closest friends actually, he lived across the street from me. He was teaching at a local university, which I lived by, so he he rented a place across the street from me. He was like, yo, we can hang out. So Christmas time comes and we decide to exchange gifts. So at the time, the Virgin Megastore was still open. So the two of us walk in there and I'm like, dude, pick out something. Merry Christmas. And he goes, yeah, man, you too. So I go and I give him BioShock on the PS3. He didn't have a PC capable, so PS3 for him. And then he goes, he looks around, he goes, I got just the game for you. I know just the game. Castlevania Judgement. I'm like, oh, dude, come on, man. I haven't played a decent Castlevania game in years. Like, to me, the last good one was Symphony of the Night. Really, it was the last good one. He's like, no, man, this one looks good. This one looks good. I'm like, all right, well, I'm like, who's this guy on the cover? He's like, I don't know. So we go back to my house, boot up the game. I find out that guy on the cover is actually Simon Belmont. And, at first I was like, what the? Alright. But the game was so over the top. So, cliche anime stuff. But I eat that stuff up, in all honesty. So over the top. I couldn't get over it. I'm like, oh my god, Castlevania's back. Like, literally, this horrible game got me back into Castlevania. So from there, I went out and I got the 2 Game Boy Advance games. I have one left to finish, which is on my backlog, actually, for the summer. And the DS ones, I played those a bit. Order of Ecclesia. Like, basically, I just went Castlevania crazy. Just bought them all up. But, to this day, none of them could ever be considered to hold a candle to this game for me. The game that got me into the series in the first place. And, truth be told, Simon was the one who turned me off to the series, turned me on to the series, and brought me back to the series. So oddly enough, that's really my very short history of me and Castlevania. Very love-hate, but at the end it turns into, nothing but love. So, those are my views. Well, not really views, more like my brief history with Castlevania. But just for fun, I'm going to show another picture of Simon Belmont from Captain N. Hate that guy. I've been Alex, and I'll see you all in the next video. Take care.